Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's Chris and Susan Beasley. We are your hosts tonight for chrisandsusan.tv, and we have for an audience with tonight a very special guest, someone who's been a great friend and inspiration to us for many, many years, who we were actually trying to recall when we last met him, but we think it was sometime around the mid-2000s.
I think the first time, I don't think we actually met Matt then. We saw him on stage for the first time. It was at a football club in the UK in the Midlands. I think it was around about 2005, something like that. So it's probably about 10 years ago.
So anyway, our guest tonight, because Chris has already given you a clue, is none other than Matt Morris. He's an incredible network marketer, has a huge organization. He'll tell you a little bit about that. But most of all, he is an author of The Unemployed Millionaire. And I know when he gave us a copy of his book in Dallas when we met him a few years ago, we went through that, we read it cover to cover, and I'm just going to hold it up here, but you can probably see it's got all sort of tags and it's been written in and it's got pages turned down, because we learned such a lot from that has helped us and inspired us in our journey online, and really and truly has grounded us in what we love to do, which is online business coaching and training, and helping people in any kind of business to really discover their passion and put their passion into purpose, if you like, and really do something for themselves. And I know Matt shares that passion with us. So without further ado, we're going to bring him on. We're going to get him to share his story with you, tell you a little bit about himself, where he is right now, how many countries he's about to travel to this year. And if you've seen the picture just below this video I put up, you'll see that he normally speaks to very, very large audiences around the world. So we're very, very privileged and honored to have him here with us tonight. So without further ado, Mr. Matt Morris.
All right, awesome. Hey, thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure.
Great to have you on here.
Yeah, excited to reconnect here. Glad we got my microphone working.
Perfect. Perfect.
We actually haven't. No, the last time we met you was actually in London, I think.
Yeah, I think it was. Originally, we met, I guess the first time was Lisa Grossman's house here in Dallas, right?
Yeah.
Yep. So it's been quite a journey. We've been watching you and seeing what you've been doing, and it's fabulous. But tonight we would just love you to share a little bit of your journey as an entrepreneur. Why you got started in network marketing, and why that is such an amazing opportunity for people to start a business.
Yeah, sure, would love to. So I got, it's kind of interesting how I got started in network marketing. I was in college, was working as a waiter at a hotel actually, and there was a banquet. So there's this big banquet that I got assigned to work at one night. And one of the other waitresses, as we're, serving dinner and dessert and coffee and stuff like that, and we'd go back and, put dishes in the back and all that. And she kept initiating conversation. And, guys, if you have a cute girl who's initiating conversation with you, you're fairly excited, right? So, I was kind of excited that she was initiating conversation. And so at one point she asked me, she said, well, you ever think about being an entrepreneur? And, I wanted to build rapport with her. So I said, yeah, all the time, actually. And she said, well, why don't you write your number down and we'll talk business sometime? And I thought, sounds pretty good to talk business. So I gave her my number, and she called me a couple days later and said, hey, why don't you meet me at the Hilton Hotel on Tuesday night and we'll talk business? And I thought, all right, meet her at a hotel one night, talk business, I'm in. So I came and met her, and she ushered me into a room with about 100 different people to see a network marketing presentation. So that was my first exposure to network marketing. And, I got really, really excited about the concept. And, I had seen my mom and dad actually owned restaurants when I was very young. When I was a young boy, they owned restaurants. And I always admired that. I guess it gave me a little bit of the entrepreneur spirit, but I saw my dad go out of business, and, he went through all kinds of crazy things, committed suicide. And then my mom, she had sold her business. The people that she sold it to were only able to pay her for a few months, and then they went out of business. And so rather than, take over the business again, she left it, and we ended up really poor, food stamps, living in a trailer park, whole 9 yards. And so mom was not really, she didn't discourage me from being an entrepreneur, but she was always talking about how you have to work 100 hours a week, and talking about how bad the restaurant business is. And so I knew I didn't really want a traditional business like that. I didn't want to have to be tied to it 100 hours a week and, all that kind of stuff. So when I saw network marketing, I remember it was an Amway presentation, and I had never heard of Amway. I had never heard of network marketing. And I remember going back that night and thinking to myself, I can't believe they're the only company that does this. I thought they were the only one. And I thought, well, it's just ingenious, like setting up these franchises, and you can leverage yourself, but you don't necessarily have to be working, to the whole hours for dollars thing. And, I was just super excited, and I thought, man, for sure, I'll be earning a full-time income my first year, because I'm going to work really hard. And, I didn't, I didn't quite make my full-time income in my first year. In fact, 2 years later, I was, had one person in my group. It was me. I had enrolled 2 people in 2 years. One was my mom. I paid for her to get in. I never even told her she was in. The one other person that I did enroll, they quit after they had been drinking before the presentation. They signed up and then never did anything after that. So, I didn't have a stellar career my first couple of years, but what it did was it really sold me on the concept. I caught the dream, and I remember hearing the leaders and just hearing about their lifestyle. And that was the kind of life that I wanted to live. I wanted to have the time and the money, and have freedom. And I think that's what we're all looking for, is that lifestyle freedom. So I just got hooked, and I stayed around long enough until I figured it out. So thank goodness I stayed around, long enough to figure it out. It took me about 5 years. So it was a bit of a frustrating journey, but man, the reward's been amazing. So it's been 20 years now, and the last 15 have just so thankful to be introduced to network marketing, because I don't know how else I could have lived this kind of lifestyle over the last 15 years.
And it's really fantastic hearing you share that part of your story, because I'll be honest, our first ever introduction to network marketing was an Amway presentation, just like you say. And like you say, that was the only thing we knew. We had no idea there were actually so many different companies using that route to build their businesses. And it was quite exciting, and we really got it. It's just that at the time, it just didn't really pan out for us, because we were so busy raising our kids, and we had a traditional business of our own, but we never lost sight of what it could do for people ever.
That's that concept, and I think it's just what you said. It's a concept that, if you can get it inside your head, and being accountants, as soon as I heard the sort of words and worked out residual income or passive income, all of a sudden, hang on, this is just like having a pension. I don't actually have to do any work.
You got it.
Not That's quite true. You do. And
you know what I guess probably what hooked me, what got me kind of addicted, was not just the lifestyle component, but it was really the personal growth, because I had never heard of personal growth and development before. When in school, in high school and in college, you read books on math, history, science, geography, grammar, all that kind of stuff. And my sponsor gave me Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And, I read that book, and it opened my mind up to a whole world of possibilities that I never knew existed. The ways of thinking, and what I've learned, Tony Robbins talks about the concept of modeling. If you want to have success, find other people who've had success, figure out what they did, do what they did, and you can have success yourself. But one of the most important things that I've found to model is the mindset. It's the thinking that you have to model. And when I got exposed to that, it it changed my mind. It gave me the confidence. It gave me the belief. It gave me the hope that I could live, because I always had dreams growing up, was like, I want to have a Ferrari and a big house and I want to travel the world. But there was always that voice in the back of your head that's saying, well, that sounds far-fetched. It's unrealistic. Who are you to really have those things? And so, thank goodness I got exposed to a different way of thinking that allowed me to, eventually get to the point where I believed it could happen for me. And I remember the first book, when I read Think and Grow Rich, it has that one chapter, Thoughts Are Things. And it talks about how, you become what you think about most of the time. And, it's like, I better be careful. I'm going to turn into a girl. It was, I had to take that with a little bit of a grain of salt, but I got the point.
He was laughing so much. It's a good job we were muted, because we would have totally dragged you out. I mean, that was so funny. But it is so much about mindset, and I have to say, it was the one thing that we're forever grateful that we were introduced to. We'd never read the kind of books. Think and Grow Rich was the first book that was handed to us by our sponsor, funnily enough, and it's one that we always recommend to everybody that we work with. I mean, we've got, like you, a library full of books now. I think we probably read about 50 to 60 books a year. People think that's excessive. I probably don't think it's enough. I have about 4 on the go.
You're like me, you're addicted and you just can't get enough. It's interesting. It's a good addiction to have, I guess, right?
It's good, because I think it just gives you a very different perspective on life, and particularly if you read autobiographies and you get to understand the inner workings of the mind of other successful entrepreneurs. And actually today I just sent an email out to all of our subscribers talking about entrepreneurial success, and do you have the mindset for entrepreneurial success? Because if they talk themselves out of it, which is so easy to do, that little subconscious, it's there right at the ready to take over, and it says, no, forget all that stuff you were wanting to do. It's not going to happen for you. And we have to do all we can to encourage people, which is why we run these shows and bring great people like you on board to help.
Yeah, there we go. Well, cool. Well, yeah, huge blessing. And the thing that's so great is there's so much mentorship available. Especially now with the internet and all that. Years ago, when we got started in networking, you had books and tapes and things like that, and you had your company's training events. But now, if I want to know how do I overcome an objection, I can hop on YouTube, and in 2 minutes I've got the answer. If I'm struggling with anything, I hop online, and there's so many people who've had success and they have the answers. And so it's, it's neat to see what the internet and technology can do to propel growth. And, we see so much faster growth now inside of network marketing and inside of business in general, so much faster now than we ever did before. So it's neat to be alive in this age.
Yeah, I think because, as you say, we've seen so much change in our lives. When I was a kid, we didn't have a television.
Exactly.
My mum and dad didn't have a car. We've gone through televisions and cars and colour televisions and record players and all sorts of things.
Well, it makes me think of the first real success I had in network marketing was back in 2001. And there was no texting. We didn't have texting on our phones back then. If we did, I didn't know how to use it, and no one really used it. So I remember whenever you had an event to promote, you actually had to call everyone. You could email, but people aren't going to look at their emails and things like that. So we didn't have Facebook groups, WhatsApp groups, and all this, technology that we have at our fingertips. Now, if I want to promote a webinar or a training, I send it out. It's super, and then everyone hops on. Or if there's a training event, and I remember having to be on your phone, and we called it working the phone tree. And so I would call everyone that I personally enrolled, and I would tell them to call everyone they personally enrolled, and so on and so forth. And it's going to be such a small percentage of people that actually get the information, especially if it's a last minute training or event or something like that. And I remember my cell phone bill. Luckily, I had an unlimited calling plan, which was fairly rare back then. But I average 7,000 minutes a month on my cell phone bill. 7,000. And you think about how many hours that is to be on the phone in a month. I mean, that was a ton, but that's just what you had to do back then. And, you know, now it's so funny. You got people, I have an organization now, over 400,000 people around the world. And so, you know, what used to happen is someone would have a question. So they'd call me, leave me a voice message. And, you know, I'd go do a meeting, and I'd come out of the meeting and I'd have a dozen voicemails. And so I'd be on the phone returning calls. And as I'm returning calls, I get done with those dozen, and I've got a dozen more that have called in while I'm returning those. It was just this endless cycle. And so now someone sends me a text message, hey, how does this work? You know, and 30 seconds, I respond, and it's done. You don't have to, you know, spend all the time on the phone. So it's so much easier now than it was years ago. It's just amazing where we've come.
So do you think the internet has had I mean, other than technology, the internet, you know, the traditional network marketing was all about, you know, talking to people, friends and family, making lists and things. So do you think the internet has now had a really big effect on being able to build a network marketing business?
You know, for sure. I mean, now, and I'm still, I would call myself, I'm definitely technically savvy. I've got, you know, plugged in on all the social media networks and have, you know, followings and things like that. But I'm still very old school in my building philosophy. It's all about relationships, but you can facilitate relationship building so much faster than you can now. You know, it's like when I get a friend request from someone on Facebook, I can send them a quick message and say, hey, how do we know each other? And then we start a dialogue, you know, hey, saw your friend request, how do we know each other? And we start a conversation. And then, you know, if it makes sense, we can get on Skype, talk, and I can, you know, introduce them to my business if it makes sense. And, you know, reconnecting with people you haven't seen in years, you know, every once in a while I'll get an idea like, wow, I used to work with that guy. I wonder if he's on Facebook. And I hop on Facebook, and, you know, then I find him through mutual friends and things like that. I've got one of my largest legs in my organization came from a guy I met on Facebook. You know, he, you know, reached out to me. We messaged back and forth a few times. We got on Skype, built a relationship, and, you know, he's now built a team of tens of thousands of people. And it all came through that relationship on Facebook. You know, years ago, you just never would have had that because we didn't have, you know, the social media outlets. So I think as long, you know, what I think in a way, internet marketing has done a little bit of a disservice because you have so many people who are saying, you know, never talk to anyone, push a button and money's going to spit out of your computer, that kind of thing. That, you know, people want the easy button. They want it to be so simple, but, you know, you still have to work. It's at the end of the day, it's a relationship building business. And I got on the bandwagon of internet recruiting back in, you know, 2001, 2002, after I built an organization. I wanted to create some cold market systems. And so I've done both. I've gone, you know, heavy internet marketing and heavy old school, belly to belly, home parties, hotel meetings, whole 9 yards. And, you know, I don't tell people don't do internet marketing and things like that. If you're going to do it, you just have to add the relationship side. You got to build relationships because, you know, I actually owned a network marketing company, and we had two different groups. We had old school network marketers who did one-on-ones, two-on-ones, hotel meetings, things like that. And then I had some of the best internet marketers online, you know, guys who, one guy personally enrolled 3,600 people. I think we had 15 people that had personally enrolled over 1,000. I mean, we had amazing internet marketers that we had recruited. But here's what was fascinating is, you know, the one guy who had personally enrolled 3,600 people, he never got his income over 15,000 a month. And I had guys who had only personally enrolled 30 or 40 people, and they were making well over $15,000 a month. So I was able to see, you know, owning the company, I could see what happened, and the attrition super high with all the, you know, internet marketing, don't talk to anyone. You know, people fell off right away. They stayed on for a month or two and then they quit. And then the depth of their organization, which is all the stability, they were very shallow. So they might enroll 1,000 people, but, you know, on their second level, they might have, you know, 50 people. And on their third level, they'd have 20, their fourth level, none. You know, so very wide, but no stability at all. It was just churn and burn. And then I'd look at you know, the people who are doing, you know, relationship building in person and all that. And, you know, they'd have very deep organizations, very solid, very stable. So, you know, it's as long as people have the right mindset, is connect online, but then, you know, combine the high touch with the high tech, it makes things way better and way faster than they ever were before.
You know, I'm so glad you said that, because it's spot on how we work in our business. We obviously have our network marketing business like you do, but we have our other businesses, a direct response, online business, education business. And, you know, there are two ways to build that too. It's get a lot of people in, and you spend a lot of time watching the attrition, like you said, or what we do. And we've actually just been featured in their magazine with some training we've done on this, is how to make big money out of small numbers. And it is absolutely spot on building relationships with people. And anyone watching this, you know, I really want you to be inspired by the fact that with social media, if you do it right, you can absolutely build a very secure business and a very secure income. Sadly, most people don't get the right kind of training, and that's where they fall down. All they do is use social media for spamming. You know, and we see it all the time, as I'm sure you do, Matt. But if you really dig deep and you get that engagement, someone sends you a message, you respond, you do like you say, how do we know each other? Or have you seen something of ours online? And you get into really find out what their needs are. You can do so well because you're actually solving a problem they have, rather than trying to deliver the product or service that your company is built around, basically. And we've just seen huge success with this, and that's what we teach. And it works for us, and I'm really glad that you came up with that.
Yeah, very good.
No, it's an amazing, you know, it's a big transition, I guess, over the years that's happened between network marketing and internet marketing. And as you quite rightly say, you can bring in so many people through internet marketing.
Well, and, you know, you do get people who, you know, the very talented internet marketers that says, you know, your upline's lying to you and all this kind of stuff about promoting internet marketing to build your business. And again, I don't say don't do internet marketing, do it, use social media and all that. But, you know, if you just look at results, you know, only a fool doubts proof. And so if you look at the fastest growing companies in network marketing, how do they build? And so, you know, I think about number one, it's all relationships. It's not creating lead capture. They're not creating lead capture pages and doing all that kind of stuff. All the leaders are, you know, I mean, that's the way they build. The second fastest growing company, same thing, third fastest. You know, if you look at the DSA top 100, are there any in the top 100 who build their business, you know, primarily just through internet marketing? And the answer is no. So until someone can really prove the model that it works long term, you got to do what works. And you know, that there's the whole thing. There's no shortcuts of success. You know, you're still gonna have to talk to people. You're gonna have to build relationships. You're gonna have to work on yourself and be a better communicator, and, you know, all that kind of stuff. So. And that's one of the biggest joys, you know, if I look at what really makes me happy. I mean, yes, it's fun to have an amazing income. It's fun to have multiple homes and exotic travel around the world. That's all really amazing. But the thing that, you know, I'm more happy about than all of that, it's the person that I feel like I've been able to become along the way. I mean, I know that if I'm comfortable in my own skin. And I remember when I got involved in network marketing, I grew up really shy, and, you know, with having a father in prison and suicide and, you know, things like that, it always made me feel different. And I always felt awkward. I felt different than everyone else, and very low self-esteem and very low levels of confidence, not outgoing at all, which people find hard to believe now that I was, you know, not outgoing at one point. And I remember when I was actually 21, I was living out of my car. I was homeless at the time. And I read a Tony Robbins book. I think it was Awaken the Giant Within, or it might have been Unlimited Power. And in his book, he recommended making a list of what you want in your life and then create a deadline for it. And I don't remember all the things that I wrote. The one thing that I do remember is I wanted to become a master communicator, because at the time I felt super awkward in any kind of, communication setting. So if I was talking to someone that I didn't know very well, I felt like they were always judging everything that I said. If I went to a party, I felt like, I was a fish out of water. I just never felt comfortable. I just always felt like an awkward communicator. And, whether I was or I wasn't, I was, definitely being hard on myself. But that's one of the goals. One of my main goals was just to feel like I could be a good communicator. And, I remember finding that list a few years later, and I'm so disappointed. I don't know what I did with that list. Hopefully I've got it somewhere. I can't find it, but I remember looking at it a few years later. I found it. And I remember seeing that and thinking, wow, I did it. Like, I have the confidence now where if I meet someone, I can communicate and not judge myself, not have that little voice going on in the back of my mind, like, oh, you shouldn't have said that, or, what are they thinking about you? They're judging you, all that kind of thing. And it was just, to me, that was such a big win, just to be comfortable in my own skin. And that's one of the things I love about network marketing is, if you are a nutrition company, if you're a travel company, if you're a telecommunications company, a technology company, really what you are is a personal development company disguised as whatever you think you are. If you want to be successful, that's what you have to be. And so, with our company, we always say we're a travel company we're a personal development company disguised as a travel company. So, people want, if you got a weight loss product, people want that. They want to lose weight, but if you just lose weight and you don't change your mindset, you're going to gain all the weight back. So you got to change yourself inside from a business building standpoint. One of the big things that I had to learn about becoming a leader in network marketing is if you build people here, if you build people through personal development, then they'll build the business. But if you don't build people here, if you don't build people from the inside out, they won't go out and build the business. Your success is always going to be short term. If it's all just about money, work. You got to have something that locks people in. You've got to create this leadership development factory. And people don't become leaders just by learning the tactical things and working hard. They become leaders by growing themselves from the inside out. And so that's one of the big lessons that I had to learn in, becoming a leader in network marketing. I always, I stuck it out for long enough. I read enough books. I went to enough trainings. I got beat up enough, and I was luckily tough enough to keep going, where I finally figured it out. And I developed kind of what I would call a level of unconscious competence, which is good. It's good to have that unconscious competence where I know I can just go out and I can manifest results because my skill's good and I can work hard. I'll create results. I just will, right? So I got to that point when I was about 24, 25 years old. But here's the challenge that started to happen was people in my organization would come to me and they'd say, Matt, I've talked to 50 people and everyone said no. And I'm getting this all the time. I can't get anyone to show up for presentations, or, I can't enroll anyone. I've done 20 presentations and no one signed up. And I, of course, wanted to help them. So I'd go tactical. I'd say, all right, well, what are you saying with your invite? How are you saying it? How are you presenting? What do you say throughout your presentation? What do you say to close? And I'd go through all this stuff and I'd be like, all right, well, try this. And then they'd go try it and it wouldn't work. Oh, well, try this. And they'd go try it and it wouldn't work. And it's like nothing I can tell, like all these tactics that I'm giving them, it's not working. So I started beating myself up because I'm telling them what I'm giving them the tactics that I use to have a lot of success, but it's not working. So, I really struggled as a leader for a period of time because I thought, well, man, I'm just ineffective. I don't know why I'm having success because I can't teach other people how I'm having success. People are still, even though I'm giving them my best training, people are still not having results. And so I finally got what happened with me. And it wasn't learning some new recruiting script. It wasn't ever learning some new tactic. I didn't get mastery from that. I got mastery from building myself from the inside out. I got mastery from developing confidence, from developing self-esteem, from developing belief, my communication ability, and things like that. And so what I started doing is, because I had read a ton of books, and if you see my library here, I mean, hundreds of books that I've read over the years. So I know if someone's having issues with a certain area, I started saying, hey, I want you to read this book. If I notice, you know, in their communication with me, they're beating themselves up or they've got really negative self-talk, I'd have them read books like What to Say When You Talk to Yourself by Shad Helmstetter. I'd say, hey, I want you to read this book. And once you've read it, I want you to call me, let me know, and let's talk about it. And I'd have them read, you know, if I knew they were being a victim and, you know, poor pitiful me and, you know, people are this, and, you know, I'd say, hey, I want you to read Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, because there's a chapter in there on how to become a crap magnet, and it's all about being a victim, you know. And so rather than me tell them that, I'd have them read a book, and I'd have them read Think and Grow Rich, you know, Mach 2 with Your Hair on Fire. If I knew it was like a confidence and a motivation and a vision thing, I'll have them read that book, you know. And if it's communication ability, if I notice they're overly sarcastic and, you know, things like that, and they're not having success, well, they needed to read How to Win Friends and Influence People. So I started having them read books, and then people would come back and they'd be like, Matt, you're the most amazing mentor in the world. And I didn't tell them anything. I said, go read this book. So why was it working? Because I started realizing you got to build people from the inside out. So if your outer world is screwed up, there's one reason: your inner world is screwed up. If your outer world has a lot of abundance, typically it's because your inner world has abundance. And, you know, that's what I had to really get. And, you know, that's what we've found throughout my organization. In fact, through our company, you know, luckily my mentor in network marketing is the founder of our company. And so he's got that philosophy, and we've adopted that among the leadership. And so we do amazing training, and you come to some of our events and, you know, you finish the event, it's like, I still don't know what to say to people. We're like, well, we have a video on what to say to someone. You know, that's easy, but we got to build you. We got to build all the other parts. And that's been the reason why, you know, I mean, we grew, oh gosh, what, $250 million last year in revenues, something like that. Yeah, about $250 million in revenues. It's not because we're the best at teaching tactics. It's because we're really good at building people. And so that's what, you know, whatever company that you're part of, if you're watching this, focus on that. Focus on the personal growth. And, you know, it's not necessarily a quick overnight thing, but it's what builds people long-term, and it's what keeps people in. So if you don't have a leadership development program, if you don't have that in place, what ends up happening is people quit and they go on to the next company. What's going to lock people in long-term is when they feel like they're in an environment that's going to allow them to reach their ultimate potential.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, that's amazing, Matt, because it's, you know, I think it's a lot of that is also belonging to the right community. Mm-hmm. It's having that, I'm going to call it support, but it's like a support network. It's not there, as you say, teaching people how to build a lead capture page or how to talk to somebody, or this is what you have to say when they say that. Yeah. Because I think when you've got that self-confidence, you've got that inner strength, if I can call it that, all of that just comes naturally in. If you get, as you said earlier, if you get stuck on something, you can just say to your sponsor or your upline, oh, how do I deal with this? Or I'm stuck with this, or just go on YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I always, one of the things that I think is very true is I could take my buddy David, who, you know, amazing leader, done a ton of personal development, and I can give him a really bad script and he's going to go have success with it. Not because it's a good script at all, just because it's him, you know? And then I could give the best script in the world to someone who's hasn't developed themselves at all, and they're going to have no results with it. So it's just, it's not the tactics. In fact, my buddy David, I always say him because he has some scripts I remember seeing that he had, you know, put out training wise. And I remember going through going, man, these are terrible. This is awful. I don't want my people saying this. He had huge results, but not because it was a great script at all. I mean, I've studied the psychology of selling and hypnotic persuasion. I mean, almost to a fault, like an obsession with, what moves people and what words to stay away from. I mean, he's saying all the wrong words in the wrong order, everything. And, but having huge results. Why? Because he was just rock solid confident, he knew that he was going to have success. And that's a big thing, is so many people come into network marketing and they're going to try it out. And I just know if someone is using the hopefully, maybe, try, things like that, they really don't have a shot. Until they change that mindset, until they change that way of thinking, they're just going to fail. Because, it's the certainty. You've got to have, you can't have a wishbone where a backbone ought to be. And that's one of the things that I kind of felt like, for years, I was going to try it out. I was going to give it a shot. And I didn't have a lot of results. When I finally got, if it's to be, it's up to me. Success is, a choice. You have a choice to win or a choice to lose. So there's no try. Either do or you do not, right? And so that's when things started happening for me, is when it's not up to anyone but me and my decision to win. So, too many people are try babies. They just, why can't I ever succeed? Because you keep trying. Stop trying and just do it. Just make that decision, draw a line in the sand and say, you know what, I am going to win. And, I did a video not too long ago on, how do you overcome the fear of failure? So people have this fear of like, oh, what if I fail? Well, I've got a simple way to overcome the fear of failure. It's real easy. Don't fail. Just don't fail. It's not, how do you not fail? You're like, well, that sounds like brilliant, how do you not fail? Well, it's easy. You decide to win and you don't quit. You just keep going until you win. There you go. You got no fear of failure. And I know people have this thing in their head. They want to overcomplicate it. It's not any more complicated than that. You just keep going until you win. Once you made the decision that it's done, it's done. When I joined my network marketing company, I didn't have any question in my mind that I was going to reach the top. I knew it. I was certain. So you got to have that mindset if you're ever going to succeed. You got to eliminate all the shoulds. It's like, oh man, I should go to that training. I should make some calls. I should do this. I should do that. Most people should all over themselves forever, right? So have some certainty, have some backbone, step up.
Well, obviously, your next book is definitely going to be a book on mindset of running a network marketing business without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, you've just absolutely knocked the nail on the head here, and actually, it's the same whatever kind of business that you're running. When you become an entrepreneur, you just got to develop yourself so much. So that you can help develop others. And I can say from our past year's experience where we've been involved in network marketing and building teams, we've always probably wanted it more for them than they've wanted it for themselves. And that's probably one of the most frustrating things as a leader that we can ever find. I mean, how do you handle that?
I was on the phone with someone today that was struggling with that. It was like, I've got several people in my group and I feel like they're just not doing anything. I mean, why do they even enroll if they're not, like, they pay their thing every month, their tuition or auto ship every month, but they don't do anything. Well, that people are people. And I remember years ago, I wanted to quit. I thought about quitting network marketing because I had this, organization, and it was like so few people win. So few people are really having a ton of success from a percentage standpoint. And what I came to realize is, it is a choice. And, winning big at anything, there's a reason why very few people win big in life, period, because very few people are willing to do what it takes to win really big. And so it's not so much different in network marketing. The average income in America is, I don't know, $45,000 a year. Somewhere along those lines. And that's the vast majority of people. It's very few people who are making $1 million a year. Why? Well, because very few people are willing to do what it takes to make $1 million a year. They're not willing to read the books. They're not willing to invest. They're not willing to put in the work. They're not willing to overcome their fears. And so it's the same thing in network marketing. I had, who was it? That wrote Launching a Leadership Revolution. Oh, I can't remember. It was Orrin Woodward and his partner. Is it Scott Brady? Anyway, Brady. Brady is his last name. So anyway, he had drawn out, I saw him speak at an event, and he drew out this curve, and he talked about the bell curve versus a power curve. And he said, you know, usually we got the bell curve, you know, everyone is in this average, and you got a small percentage of people who, you know, earn a lot of income, a small percentage of people earn, you know, almost no income, and everyone's in this, you know, the bell curve. And then you've got the power curve, and the example he gave that I thought was just genius was the professional actors. So they have this professional actors guild where you have to apply and be certified, and you're a professional actor. Well, of the people who are professional actors, you have 1/3 make $0 per year. Now, these are professional actors. 1/3 make $0 per year. The second third make less than $1,000. Less than 1,000. So you have 1/3 that are the power, you know, where it goes up, and you have anywhere from obviously $1,000 to, you know, millions a year. You know, same in professional sports, same in, you know, any opportunity that really gives you the opportunity to do exceedingly well. You're going to have that curve. So you have to decide, are you a bell curve kind of person, or are you a power curve kind of person? And if you're a bell curve person, you're not going to be happy in a power curve environment. You know, you just want to get by. You want to be average. So great, you're a bell curve person, do bell curve type things. If you're a power curve person, environment, because at least you want the opportunity to do really well, because in a bell curve environment, there's no opportunity to really do exceedingly well. So, you know, that's my take on it is, you know, there's bell curve people and power curve people. And, you know, what you got to do is just look for the power curve type people. You know, that's a more tactful way. I mean, what I kind of come up with is you know, there's the chickens and the eagles, and, you know, you have to sort through a lot of chickens to find the eagles. And, you know, unfortunately, what most people do in network marketing is they spend all their time working with their chickens. And that's what the person I was talking to, it was like, they're going to go, you know, do special training. So they got these 2 reps who aren't doing anything. They won't make a call. They won't show up. They won't do anything. So she sets a meeting, and she goes to meeting with it, and it's like, all right, we're going to make our list of names, and we're going to make calls on the spot. She's going to force them to have success. That's like trying to make a chicken fly, you know, and it was an effort and futility. They weren't able to set appointments. They weren't willing to do it, all this. So she's like, all right, fly, chicken, fly. Well, chickens don't fly. They're not designed to fly. So if you want to fly, you got to go find the eagles, because if you constantly spend your entire career in network marketing trying to make chickens fly, you don't end up getting any of them to fly. You end up with chicken shit all over yourself. So, you know, that's that's my take on it, is sort through enough chickens to find the eagles. So there you go.
I absolutely, I remember that story, Chickens and Eagles. I remember Shusharia standing on stage and telling that story a good few years ago now. It was the first time I heard it when he said it. It just made me laugh then. And but it's absolutely true. Absolutely true is that, you know, we all want it more for other people than they do themselves. But you know, your bell curve and power curve, that's really good metaphor, because it explains that there are people who want to be entrepreneurs, but the vast majority of the population in actual fact don't.
Yeah, that's it.
And that's exactly what we try to do. We try to convince people they want to be an entrepreneur, and if they don't want to be an entrepreneur, that's never going to happen, no matter what they do.
Yeah, I mean, and the reality is, you got to have the intestinal fortitude. You got to be tough, and some people just aren't tough enough. That's the reality of it. I mean, if I look at, you know, the average millionaire, they say the average millionaire has filed bankruptcy twice. I don't personally know of any super successful person, any multimillionaire. I don't know of one personally who's not been through failure, not been through massive failure at that. I mean, if I look at my journey along the way, I got to 21 years old. I was $30,000 in debt. I had made every mistake in the book. I opened up offices and ran all kinds of crazy ads. I mean, I just did everything foolishly. So I ended up $30,000 in debt. End up living out of my car, bathing in gas station bathrooms. I showered naked in the rain in a church parking lot one night. I mean, just crazy things that happened right along the journey. And I figured out how to get out of that debt and, start having some results. And I started an internet marketing company in addition to the network marketing company that I was involved in. And, we're generating crazy amounts of revenue, about $100,000 a month in revenues within my internet marketing company. And so me and my business partner, we're, taking out every week, we're taking out profits and man, living large, things are great. And then one day, one of our vendors, I let my partner handle all the finances and I handled the marketing. So I didn't look at our bank accounts. I just knew, he would write us profit checks, it'd be equal, and I was happy. And so then I get a call from one of our vendors that I had a relationship with, and he says, hey, when do you think you'll be able to pay that invoice? And I'm like, well, what invoice? Well, the leads from the last couple months, it's more than 30 days behind, or I think it was 60 days behind. I was like, let me call you back. So I call my partner, and anyway, long story, but we had definitely a big time difference of opinion on paying vendors versus paying ourselves. And so we made an agreement that we weren't going to pay ourselves, and that didn't happen on his part. And so I ended up having to take over the business. And when I took over the business, I had to get we had just hired a guy to run our customer service, and we'd given him signing access. He had an accounting background. So we got all the invoices and everything. Turns out we were $100,000 in debt. $100,000 in debt. So I had to lay off a couple of our employees. We had to cut back on everything. And, I had to get creative, reinvent the business. And, I got out of it because I decided I was going to get out of it. And I had the opportunity to decide, all right, I'm $100,000 in debt at the time. I think I was 26 years old. And, what does that mean? And, what I believe is nothing has meaning until we give it meaning. I have the ability to create my own reality. Sometimes people will tell me I have a false reality. So I'm going to give that meaning. And so I had the choice. I remember thinking, all right, because I had read enough books at the time. It was like, all right, well, does that mean I'm a business failure? Does that mean I shouldn't start another business? I said, you know what this means? This means I'm a badass businessman. This means I'm an amazing leader because I know what to do now, and I know, more importantly, what not to do. And, it was very valuable. So that gave me the power to rebuild and create more success than I ever had. Became a millionaire at 28, 29. I had a company doing amazing. We're doing about almost $800,000 a month in revenues, doing business all over the world. And then all of a sudden, it was September 2008, got hit with about $200,000 worth of fraud. Our merchant accounts held $300,000. So it was a $500,000 hit in 1 month. When you're doing, just under $800,000 a month in revenues and you're paying out 60% commission to your reps, you don't have enough money to pay your reps. And so, I took out a $250,000 loan from the bank. I borrowed money from one of our vendors. Sales went from that to, around $300,000 a month in 6 months. And so, never could get right side up again. Long story short, 32 years old, $750,000 in debt. And, so I had the choice. It was like, all right, I can either let that break me or I can decide to go out and break records. So I had to just saddle up and say, you know what that means is I'm going to be more powerful. I'm going to rebound higher than I've ever rebounded before. I'm going to create a much better life. God had that happen for a reason. I'm going to thank God for it. And I'll be honest, it was very hard to thank God for those challenges. I mean, I was at the point where, this time it wasn't just me in debt. It was affecting a lot of other people. And, I like to consider myself to be a steward of other people's dreams. I put a lot of responsibility in, serving my community and, serving my people and so forth. And so, that was the hardest thing. And, there were days where, you know, in the afternoon, I can remember going to a bar and drinking 3 vodkas just to get through the day. Because I had, for the first time in my life, I had anxiety. I never knew what anxiety was. It was a totally foreign concept. People would say that, and it didn't compute. I didn't understand it because I'd never felt it. Well, I felt it. And it was a rough time. I lost 15 pounds, not because I wanted to lose any weight, because I just couldn't eat. I couldn't, you know, I had stomach issues. I was a mess, total mess. But I just kept telling myself, you know, I got to be grateful. There's a lesson in this. It means things are going to be better than they ever were. And so I just kept going and kept going and kept going. And guess what? Came out of it. I realized within about 6 months later, what a blessing it really was, you know, a blessing in disguise, because we ended up creating more success than we ever had, more money than we ever had, better lifestyle than we ever had, helping more other people create more success than we ever had before. And so turns out it was a huge blessing. So sometimes when you're going through that valley of death and you feel like you're going to die, that, you know, success for you, maybe you're just not cut out for success, when, you know, all the hope is gone. You just got to sometimes reach down and pull out the faith. You got to reach down and, you know, source motivation, source the will to keep going. And if you will, I just think, you know, God rewards you. The universe rewards the people who are really committed. And, you know, it's a better life than we've ever had. And it's been amazing. And, you know, things have been so amazing for the last few years. We've, you know, been able to multiple investment properties, apartment complexes. I mean, things are great. And, you know, it does scare me a little bit to think, well, man, what if you lost it all again? But you know what? If I did, I'd rebound bigger than I ever have. You got to have that kind of faith and that kind of commitment and that kind of confidence in yourself. So that for me has been some of the biggest keys to, you know, keep going when I wasn't quite sure I could.
Thank you so much for sharing that, because I think that will resonate with a lot of people who, they tend to judge people's success from the outside of what they're seeing, and they have no idea the journey that they've gone through to get to where they are, and the lessons that they've learned that help them to be better leaders and help more people. I know certainly from our point of view, we've been through some pretty tough times, but people don't see that because we probably don't talk about it much. We don't tend to be interviewed like we're interviewing you right now. I hope that we will be one day, because it gives us a chance to show people that our success didn't just get handed to us on a plate. We worked very hard for it. We had very, very big driving forces. As people can see, we're not exactly young. We're both in our 60s now, and we thought we had pretty much sussed our retirement and our pension nest egg and all of that. And, you know, we had good advice when we had it, didn't we, Chris?
Right, yeah. And, it was all right. We put, you know, we put most of our money into property, and as you said, 2008 came along, and it then became a millstone round our necks rather than the best thing since sliced bread. But you know,
we didn't shut shop, did we? We said, right, let's do something about this. Let's find out how we're going to get out of this mess, and along the way, let's show other people how they can do the same. And
you dig deeper. You find
much deeper.
Yeah, and you find a way to generate a replacement income for what it is that you've lost, and you just get on with it, and you just keep going until it starts to happen. And as you say, it's about not allowing yourself to fail. Just don't stop. Because
you know, I said that at an event. You know, one day I just finished, I said, you know, there's one key, you know, is when you get knocked down, get back up. And whoever keeps getting back up is the one that's going to win the most. So, you know, that's it. You know, we're all going to get knocked down. Let's just, you know, keep getting back up. Les Brown says, if you get knocked down, land on your back, because if you can look up, you can get up.
I like that.
I absolutely love that, and I think that's a perfect place for us to end these 60 minutes that we've had with you today. It's been an absolute pleasure and a privilege to have you share your journey And I hope that that will inspire many, many people. Those that have been watching live, we thank you for being with us. Those who watch this later, as many of you do over and over and over again, because we send this out to you. And it will be going into our book that will be coming out later on this year. Matt has very kindly agreed to have a chapter in our book, and I'll be getting a little bit more background from him when we share his story again in writing rather than on video. But just bear in mind everything that you've heard tonight. And I think from one of our viewers here that said she's never going to look at a chicken the same way ever again. And I think that is just spot on. I mean, we have to go looking for eagles. And thank you, Matt. It's been an absolute honor to have you with us tonight.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Thank you so much. Appreciate what you guys are doing.
Okay.
Thank you very much. And we look forward to seeing you on some travels very, very soon. I hope you're coming to London soon so we can meet up. It would be fantastic.
All right. Sounds great. All right.
Fantastic. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for everyone. See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.